Picture this. The sun has slid to a late afternoon angle that makes every edge of the forum blaze like a knife. Vendors shout over amphorae and figs, sandals scuff the pox stones, and somewhere a mule refuses to move until it is bribed with dates. You are one more body in the Roman crowd in the year 67, drifting in that wide corridor between temples where power likes to be seen. Then a hush runs through the noise, not silence exactly, but a tightening like a hand around a throat. Praetorians appear first, polished shields throwing back the light, spears slanted just so, faces arranged in the trained expression of men who see everything and react to nothing. Between their points and purple hems walks the emperor. Nero is not in a hurry. He has learned that the world will wait for him. Beside him, carried in a litter like a shimmer of molten gold, rides the figure everyone is pretending not to stare at. Pearls like captured moons. A veil that moves as if it has learned to breathe. Bracelets that could fund a city's aqueducts with a flick of the wrist. The murmuring starts in the second ranks, does a quick calculation of risk, and then dares to cross the air, his new wife. A jewel among jewels. A spectacle even in a city that lives on spectacle. But if you stand close enough to the colonnade, if you let the shade swallow you and become a pair of eyes instead of a person, you hear the rest. The underside of the sentence that doesn't dare walk the flagstones. They say the young woman was once a boy. They say the emperor carved his grief into living flesh. They say her name is Sabina, and also that it is a lie. They say a name only when the guards are far enough away that a whisper can't be mistaken for an insult. All of Rome knows and does not know at the same time. That is how survival works here. You hold two truths in one mouth, the official tale and the thing your bones recognize as true. He, the most powerful man alive, strolling at the center of a world that bends to him, and at his side a presence so dazzling you could use it to read by and the glint has a shadow if you look too long. You might be tempted 2,000 years later, with a safe door between you and the past, to shrug and label it decadence. Rome being Rome, another grotesque extravagance from a court that used to feed its fish on pearls and its gods on flattery. But if you stay with the scene a breath longer, if you watch the small things, the story refuses to be just lurid color. The senator's wife who drops her eyes too quickly when the litter passes. The slave who risks a glance and then looks at the ground as if the stones might erase him. The priest who adjusts his wreath, buying himself a second to decide which face to wear. This isn't only about excess, it is about what power does to reality. It is about how love can be re-engineered into ownership, how grief can ferment into obsession, how a person can be sanded down into a role and then lacquered until they shine with someone else's memories. The emperor pauses at a fountain. Bronze ripples pretend to be water. A boy skitters forward to collect a coin Nero has dropped on purpose, one of those small imperial kindnesses that can never be refused. A rumor lifts and settles like a flock of birds. The veil shifts. A profile flashes. The resemblance to a dead woman is cruel. You don't need to know her name yet to understand the geometry of loss and replacement at work. You can feel the edge, the dangerous arithmetic. If a man can command armies with a signet ring, why shouldn't he command time to run backward? If he can set a city on fire with a rumor, why shouldn't he set a body on fire with a new identity? You can object that this is theater, but Rome has always taken theater seriously. The Forum is a stage where laws are performed as much as they are passed. Statues are scripts carved in stone. Processions are edits to public memory. Today's script demands that everyone applaud. The applause arrives not a roar, but the curated murmur of approval that means people have done the math in their heads and decided to keep breathing. Somewhere, on a balcony, a girl who will marry a man twice her age watches and learns what it takes to be safe. Somewhere, in the shadow of the basilica, a clerk memorizes the face he must flatter tomorrow. Look again at him. Nero carries delight like a perfume and danger like a draught beneath it. He is younger than the granite makes him seem, older than the mirrors tell him. Everything about him says he has practiced this walk. He is proud of what he has made, not an aqueduct or a triumphal arch, but an answer to a wound he cannot admit exists. The woman at his side is proof that his will can outvote the gods. The guard spears gleam, the veil breathes, the city watches and pretends not to. Perhaps you had an ancestor in this crowd, a man who sold olives, a woman who tatted fringes for rich garments. Perhaps they went home and set down exactly what they saw, careful even in their own rooms to leave out the most dangerous words. We live, they might have written, in an empire that can conjure a dead love back to life if it wishes. We live where names can be peeled off and reapplied like gold leaf. We live where the truth can be made to kneel in public and call itself by another name. You might ask, is this the story of Rome's appetite finding a new plateau? Or is it the story of grief, ungoverned and empowered, breaking the levee of sanity in a man the law can't correct? The answer is both, and neither. Rome is not a single appetite, but a network of them, senators, soldiers, singers, slaves, all humming in a pitch that can, under the wrong conductor, become a shriek. He will not be contradicted, that is the problem. He will not be told no, and so he invents a yes that costs someone else their life while allowing him to believe he has preserved his own. For now, you know enough that the emperor walks and everyone scatters the right distance, that beside him moves a figure the city must call wife and also cannot, that the rumor under the rumor has a name, Sporus, a name that was a boy's before it became an accessory, a name that will be spoken in half-lit rooms for generations as shorthand for the lengths to which power will go to make memory obey. This is not a horror story for the sake of horror, and it is not a parable built to flatter our modern superiority. It is an account of a human life bent until it almost but not entirely breaks. It is a study in the mechanics of coercion, silk that binds more effectively than chains, rituals that enforce more completely than laws, crowds that participate in the lie because the lie is safer than the truth. It is also, quietly, the record of the small and stubborn thing inside a person that refuses to disappear even when every mirror says it already has. When the procession moves on, the forum exhales. The sellers resume their pitches, the mule relents, the coins clink again, but the air has changed density. You carry the scene with you the way you carry the grit of the city in the folds of your robe. You will tell someone tonight what you saw, and you will decide which words to leave out. Perhaps you will try to forget the eyes briefly visible beneath the veil, the way the lashes framed a face that did not choose its adornments. Perhaps you will forget until one day you cannot. We will not hurry. We will take this slowly, the way you study a mosaic, piece by piece, until the picture that seemed like an impossible blur becomes a face, then a story, then a warning. The name Sporus may not ring any bells when the procession first passes, but soon it will. Soon the forum will become a map, and the map will lead us through palaces where grief masquerades as piety, to rooms where a body becomes a project, to a balcony where a city is asked to believe what it knows is false. Stand here a moment longer, with the lamplight beginning to bloom and the sky turning that particular Roman blue that has never been adequately painted. Watch, listen, understand that the thing in the litter is not just a shock of scandal. It is a thesis about empire, about what happens when a man's sorrow is given armies.